Good evening, everybody. This is Joe from the Middle Ground Mike. Hope this catches everybody doing well. Wanted to just touch base today. We got a new episode that's going to be dropping this week. Um, it is with a very, very good person running for um, the state house down in Missouri. It's a great podcast. I think everybody will enjoy it. Um, turn into that. Let's go on to some news that we got going on. Iranian defenses have been activated over Tehran, and that's even after they've been talking about de-escalating a little bit and maybe negotiating with the United States. I know President Trump urged them to, really kick it up a notch. Um, they're saying they should evacuate Tehran. It's there's got to be a peaceful way that can happen very quickly because there's a lot of people dying, and that's just not okay. A lot of these tensions go back a long time. Some are religious, some are political. But at what point do the citizens of this country say, "Hey, enough's enough. We're tired of dying for whatever reason"? That's up to them to decide, not to us. And I like the fact, for the most part, the United States has really not got. We have really not gotten too heavily involved, at least from what we know publicly. There are some analysts out there saying Iran can't sustain a response to Israel for long with its severely suffered infrastructure, I should say. So, that's a little concerning, because that might incentivize Israel to really push the envelope and understand I'm not anti-Semitic or anything. I'm not anti-Israel. It's just there's a lot going on in that area of the world right now, and the less fighting we have, the better. We still got the Gaza situation. Israel, obviously, I'm not an Israeli, but from afar, it just seems like, hey, let's maybe focus on that and not, fighting two conflicts at once. It just doesn't seem like a good idea for that nation because eventually, at some point, we're going to get dragged into something, or financially, we will, one of the two. And that's just not, it's not good for the United States. So that's, my kind of 2 cents on that. Moving on to, um, President Biden and the Autopen scandal. From what I'm reading is, obviously, but Trump even came out and said that he saw no evidence of it. Him and his administration have found no evidence of that Autopen was used. But from what I was reading in some of the articles and through various things, that even if there was Autopen, Trump would not be able to overturn those. I'm guessing maybe the Supreme Court or someone would be able to, possibly. But even if there was, that would not be something that the administration could just overturn on a whim. So that's not necessarily a bad thing. Depending on what it is, right? There's some good, some bad in everything that we do. Again, this all goes back to, were we being lied to by the administration? I truly believe that we were, about Biden's mental state. He wouldn't be the first president to do that. There was a lot of rumors about Ronald Reagan. You know, it seems to be part of the course sometimes, but Biden's decline seemed to be a lot more obvious compared to a lot of others. So, that's not okay. And does that mean that his circle, his entourage, whatever you want to call it, did they lie to us? During Trump's first term, they tried to use the 25th Amendment to kick him out of office or remove him out of office. And because of his outbursts, things of that nature. But, they were so worried that they wouldn't remove Biden if he had these things. So it's kind of like, did they hide it? Did they not have the faith in Kamala Harris, the vice president, that they tried to say publicly that they did? Because that would be a pretty darn good reason that they didn't do it. I wouldn't say good reason, but pretty obvious reason. Do I think Kamala would have been a good president? No, by far, no. She would have been terrible. Worse than Trump, in my opinion. I'm not knocking her because she's a Democrat. But when you have all these problems and you have the vice president going on a TV show going, I wouldn't change anything. I mean, that right there probably lost her a couple million votes. A lot of people out there that are broken. There's a lot of things that our current administration hasn't done that we wish that they would have done to bring prices down. But certain things are heading in the right direction. Eggs are coming down. Gas is kind of stabilized depending where you're at in the country. So yeah, it kind of ties into was Kamala, and then did Biden sabotage Kamala, things of that nature. There was a Secret Service report from that a Senator Hawley told everybody about that said he was told Joe Biden got lost in a closet. If those are kinds of things that were happening and nothing was done about it, that's very, 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 very scary. And I don't care if you're a Republican or a Democrat, if those kind of things are going on and nobody's doing anything about it, that's huge problem, huge. And that's something that they really should be looking into if that was the case. So, I hope that that wasn't the case, and hopefully a lot of it is just paranoia. But, moving on to one of my favorite subjects, RFK and baby formula, not just baby formula, but RFK in general. I really am a big advocate of his. Just in case anybody's wondering, he has said on hearings publicly that you shouldn't necessarily take medical advice from him. You should do it with your doctor. These are some of these, what he's doing is recommendations, and I get why some people are not okay with them. But there is correlation for some things I believe in. I know a lot of people say, hey, the science doesn't say this or that. Well, sometimes correlation can be not as often, obviously, but correlation can explain things that science sometimes cannot. That's just a personal opinion of mine. I'm not anti-science, uh, you know, but he's launching Operation Stork Speed. A lot of people are going a little panicking a little bit, but he's looking for testing for different heavy metals. One of the biggest ones they focus on is higher iron levels. So apparently here in the United States, we have higher iron levels on our formula than the Europeans do. Why, you might ask that he would bring that up in it, and it's not about socialism or anything of that nature. But European babies have significantly less complications than American babies do. So, I think it's worth a look to see, what it is. He's also looking for, what was it, added sugars such as corn syrup and glucose. Corn syrup is it's terrible for you. There's really nothing good about it for you. That's what I'm definitely learning. So hopefully he can do that. I know when I had seen the news article and he was talking about they're working to get some more things going so that we have more baby formula supply in the case of something like COVID again, where we're not having going, hey, can we get it from a foreign country? Nobody wants to go through that. So good luck to RFK. And I believe I said before, part of something else that he's worked with is Skittles is now removing titanium dioxide out of their products. So I think that is a great thing as well. Again, it's another step towards us getting a little bit more in line with, Europe. And no matter how you feel about Europe, the simple fact of the matter is they have less complications. They're healthier than us. They generally have lower rates of diseases and some cancers. And so they're doing something different, and I know somebody once had said, Europe has a more narrow definition of autism, which is why the rates are lower, even while it's possible, because there are some things out there that even I think, I'm like, just because somebody does that doesn't mean something's wrong with them. And, to me, in this country, we treat autism as something's wrong with you rather than treating you as a human first and then treating your autism. And I feel like Europe does a really good job of focusing on who the person is, right? Even though you're autistic, are you geared towards an engineer, or geared towards this? And that's what they try to push these folks for. And, I know that doesn't always fit how we want things to go in the West, but if it's helping these kids, does it always necessarily mean something's wrong with them? I don't. I have an autistic son, and I haven't prescribed that. I don't prescribe that. But I'm not also sitting here saying that, ooh, it's this fake thing. No, it's not. My son is on medicine that helps him a lot. I'm not going to necessarily endorse it because everybody's different, right? But it has been significant. It has really helped him. He's, sentences are becoming clearer. He's already in general education. He can read, he can do math, he can write. 2 years ago, it was a little nervous how some of that was going to work out for him. I mean, I believed in him because he's my son naturally, but nobody really knew where that was going to go. And I don't agree with how the whole system goes to diagnosing you, and none of it makes any sense. I could go on forever about that, but I think autism is definitely underrepresented, but I also think it's too broad with how they do it, and a lot of times they do these broad definitions, right? So that way insurance companies have to cover you, which is the most backwards thing on God's green earth. As backwards. We have to do it like that so that way we can ensure you get coverage. See, that's part of why people talk about socialized medicine, centralized medicine in America. If you need something, it should be something that the doctor has to create a broad definition for you to get covered. It's goofy, stupid, and to me, un-American there. We can do better. But that's just me. I could go on a soapbox about it all day. I've talked about it umpteen thousand times, it seems like. Let's move on to another hot topic of the day, immigration. So I'll start off with the estimates are 15 to 20 million came across the border during Joe Biden's administration personally, but that's just what seems to be out there. Do I agree with the full route that the president is going? No, but I do agree with him in the fact that, like, hey, if you did something illegal, you did do something illegal, that is crime. But I think we should be offering folks that are peaceful, that have tried to contribute. I think we should follow the Ronald Reagan model and offer them amnesty so we can put them on the rolls. We need more contribution to Social Security. We get them on the payrolls, boom, they're contributing into it, which help pays the bills, right? They're going to be contributing to Medicare, Medicaid. They're going to be paying more taxes, right? So let's get these people on the payrolls where we need that, right? Especially if they're peaceful. If they're peaceful people and they haven't been arrested for anything, like I believe Hillary Clinton said in 2008 or 2016, whichever one, they should pay a fine. Totally fine with that. But obviously, if you're a criminal, you should be kicked out. A violent criminal, something of that nature, gang affiliations, if they can prove it, go for it. Something that I originally, I think the administrations or what they were averaging was 1,500 deportations a day, sometimes more, sometimes less. And here's the thing. So Obama deported a little over 3 or 4 million people, give or take, during his administration. If Trump only got what the current projections are going, he would only be deporting 2.2 million during this term. There's rumors going around that is saying that he wants 3,500 a day, which would put him at 5.1 million. That is a tad much, and I think a lot of those workers, but Trump has even backtracked on this a little bit and talked about, hey, the hotel and leisure industry, farmers have gone to him, and he says, we need to look at some of this. But if you're, if I'm a criminal, you're gone. But the president says we do need to relook at some of this, which is, because I get it. But to me, also, some of these companies will take advantage of illegals because they're employing them illegally. They can pay them less, even if they're paying them. Let's say they're paying the same exact as the guy next to him thinks he can make $20 an hour, right? Well, that means they're not matching the taxes. That means they're not contributing Social Security, things of that nature, right? And they don't have to have as many coverages on these folks, which, again, saves them money, but it also depresses wages of American workers and hurts everybody. So I think that, helping with some level of amnesty to these situations, I think definitely would help solve the problem. And I don't know if you could ever really completely solve it, but it would definitely help alleviate it and get us on a better path. Going from there, kick it over to sports a little bit. The Detroit Tigers continuing the roll. Go Tigers. My Michigan Panthers, man, did they get obliterated on Saturday. Bummer. I mean, they got obliterated. Which is a bummer because they had a good season. That's kind of what happened to them in the USFL championship game last year, too. So, training camp's coming up for a lot of NFL teams soon. My Detroit Lions, you can see the gnome back there. They are going to be in the Hall of Fame game, so training camp should be kicking up pretty soon from them. And so when they do, I'll be shooting out some more frequent, sports updates because football is something that's a passion of mine. But I am following the Tigers this year because they're rocking it. So keep that up. I hope the Tigers keep moving faster. Moving fast, and hey, we could use a World Series here. To kind of wrap things up, if anybody wants, I have wrote a new book, and it is up on Amazon. It's a children's book inspired by my son, Henry. It's called Bob's Adventures, or Bob's Lake Adventure. My apology. Bob's Lake Adventure. It's from part of another YouTube channel that I have called Centric Animations, where I post a lot of AI videos and things like that. So we got that book on there. It's for $9.99. It's about 40 pages or so, but it's got like a lot of pictures, some words. It's meant to be fun, right? The videos are on Centric Animations YouTube page that are related to Bob's Adventures. His website will be coming pretty soon. So look forward to that. It's a really cool book. Thank you, and have a good day.